If you want to see me create this look using virtually nothing more than the Urban Decay Naked Skin Shapeshifter palette, then stick around. Hi there, it's Hélène and welcome back, or if it's your first time, welcome to HMM Makeup or Makeup. I am really pleased to bring you this little challenge. I had a request from a frequent viewer and friend of mine to do a look, a full face using nothing but this palette. That would mean color correction, foundation, concealer, eyeshadow, the whole 9 yards using nothing but this palette. And I like a challenge. So pieces, you're on. I am going to be playing with this palette today. I have virtually nothing on my face except for skincare, and I have a little bit of lip gloss left. It's the Becca Pearl and Gold that I have on my lips. That's it. I'm not wearing a stitch of makeup, which I think you can see by my skin. I'm not wearing anything else except for basic skincare. Now, this palette, if you're not familiar with it, has one side that is all powders and the other side which is all creams. And what's really neat is that the cream side and the powder side are well protected from each other with a two-sided mirror in the middle. I think it's a fantastic palette. It's also magnetized and it is extremely durable. If I need to take cream products with me on the road, so to speak, this is the palette that I use, and it's very sturdy and compact, which it's a little heavy, but it's sturdy and compact, and I have no concerns about bringing it with me while I travel. Okay, not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon. I think most of us can agree that that is the case. I am going to go straight into the cream side first, because that is what I'm going to use first. Now, I don't have fair rosy skin. I have more, and you can see it, is more of a yellowish tinge to my face. And so I need to use colors, cream colors that are going to complement my skin tone. So I am not going to go into this one, but if you are fair skin, you could definitely be using this one. I am going to focus a whole lot more on these two, this in my brow, and this is a highlighter. So let's go right into it. Now, I am not shy about using my fingers in this palette, and that's what I'm going to use. If you don't like using fingers and you feel like you should be using foundation brushes or whatnot, no judgment here. I'll do what I do, you do what you do, use whatever tool it is that works for you. But for me, my best tools are my fingertips. So if that bothers you, just go right ahead and fast forward to when I'm done playing with my face using my fingers. I'm going to go, as I said, I'm going to go in here first, and then I'm going to deepen up by bronzing with this one and contouring with this one. Hopefully that makes sense. So I'm going to go in with my ring finger and middle finger into this beautiful creamy shade. Now, I'll be a little bit too light to begin with. I've got two fingers. I'm going to split it in between, and I've got a mirror right under you, right under the camera, and I'm going to use that to see what I'm doing. Now, I'm going to be going back and forth to the palette a number of times in order to be able to get the coverage I need to do what it is that I want to do. And we're starting with cream, and then I'm going to finish ultimately with powders. So this idea that we have to use foundation for foundation, we have to use concealer for concealer, no. They're just all colored creams. We can use whatever it is that we need to. There are no hard and fast rules for makeup. You can just use whatever it is that you have available. So there we go. I always start with my T zone first, so the center of the face, and then kind of going outward, because you don't want harsh lines around the hairlines. You want to concentrate in the middle and then kind of blow it out to the edges. And like I said, I'm kind of ghostly right now, but more color will be coming on soon. Now when it comes to just under the eyes, it doesn't take very much. I'm going to go right from the inside and follow the base of my eyelashes out, and I'm going to put a little bit more on. And it does have a feel, most good creams have this feel of, they start off as cream, but then they start to feel like powder on the skin. And I'm getting that feeling now with this, this particular cream product. Okay, so again, focusing on the center and then blowing it out to the edges. And I don't want to put too much on the edges because I'm going to be going in with a deeper color in a little bit. And I want to do a little bit more for the discoloration here, so I'm going to put just a little bit more on the edges here. I have some hyperpigmentation on my cheeks. And that's mostly, I haven't been using my Neutrogena Tonal Repair much recently. And it's starting to show. I'm going to have to resume using that because it's getting a little problematic. Now, I don't want to use the light color on my eyelids because I don't want to waste more of this color than I have to, and all of this is going to be covered with eyeshadow. So I'm actually going to go into, you know what, my eyes are naturally kind of rosy. I'm going to go in and use this rosy tone because it's going to be neutralized by eyeshadow very, very soon. So I've got some on my index finger. Normally I would use my ring finger actually, so let's do that. And I'm just using it as eyeshadow primer. I very often use something like a concealer for eyeshadow primer, and that works just fine. As long as I don't need a really sticky base. This is just to cancel out some veins that I have. That's pretty much the only reason I'm using this. I'm not using it as a tacky base, I'm just using it as a base. And there's nothing better than to use a color of cream in a palette like this that is light, but is not a color that you need to use anywhere else on the face. At least that's how I make use of it. Okay, I think that looks good. Now, you're starting to see that it looks quite a bit like a blank canvas, right? Well, now we are going to do some contouring. And one of the things that I want to do that I've never done with this palette before is I'm going to use the deep brown as my eyeshadow for my brows. So let me get a brush that is good for that purpose. I'm going to use this little brush by Essence and go into my brows with, again, I was talking about this cream color. It looks a little bit lighter on camera, but it's actually quite a deep contour color. And I'm going to use a brush just to brush up my brows. There's a little bit of residue of brow powder in there, but I think we can make it work. Now, because that cream in this this set tends to go kind of towards powder, I'm not worried about any creasing or anything because my skin is relatively dry, it being winter and all. Oops. It's a nice thing about cream products. You can just wipe it off if you make a boo-boo. That's the technical term, a boo-boo. So I'm angling my brush where I want it to be thicker, and then I go straight down when I know that I just want to finish up the brow. So wide and then narrow. Yeah, there we go. That's doing a good job. I'm going relatively narrow with my brows today, apparently. There we go. Brush it out a little bit more. Okay. Of course, if you're not interested in brows, just speed through this. There's going to be contouring next with very much the same cream product. I hope that despite all the restrictions, that some nice things happened for you during Christmas. We usually have, I'll put the holiday traditions video right there. We usually have a big do at our place with over 20 people. And this year, obviously, with the restrictions, we weren't able to host this year, and it's been very, very strange. Although we did do something, you know how you say, what's the expression? What do you do with broken eggs? You make an omelet? Or maybe something tasty, or cake or something. We ended up getting a Christmas tree this year. And getting a Christmas tree is not something we usually do anymore because we can't fit 20 to 25 people around 3 big sets of tables if we have a Christmas tree. It's like you have to choose between Christmas decorations and making room for people, and well, people win. And so I guess we turned lemons into lemonade and got to experience a tree this year. And I think that that's the important part that was for everyone, was to find a new normal. And that was an aspect of the new normal that I could definitely get behind. And I love that tree so much, I almost got brought to tears a few times because it is really, truly beautiful. If you haven't seen the tree and you're on the channel, the web page for this channel, if you look under community, I did post a picture of part of the tree so that you could see. And part of the reason I did that was just to be able to share something that I was thankful for this year, without necessarily saying so, but just quietly showing gratitude for something. Okay, let's keep going. And if I find that this is too orange, that's not a problem. I'll just add some powder that is on the other side that's a little bit more cool toned than this is appearing to be in my brows right now. I do like the control of a cream product, so that's why I went for this side first. For the brow. Okay, so I think it's looking okay. I do want it a little bit deeper, darker, but as I said, I can go to the powder next, assuming I remember to do so. And just a little bit more right here. Okay, I think it looks all right as I add some more. Okay, so that is the brows done. So we have the absolute base. I have to do a little concealer. Now I'm good to start to deepen up the look. And I do want to use a little bit of this peach around my nose as concealer. It's a little bit, it's showing too much vein. Okay, I think that looks all right. Now I want to use this for kind of a bronzing effect on the cheeks, so bronzing and blush effect, and this for contour. And for contour, I'm going to use primarily my middle finger and just go right in the hollow from here down with the contour. And so it makes a line, and then all I'm going to do is circular motions up and down to get it truly into the hollow of my cheek, just like that. It doesn't take very much. And other side. Now, of course, I get more precision when it's just me in front of a big mirror, because right now I'm using the mirror under the ring light, but you're getting the idea. So it just gives a little bit of definition right here. Okay. Now it's not covering as much as I would like here. It's not a true concealer, but I did say I was going to do the whole look with this palette. Ideally, you would be using something that is specific as a concealer here, but I do think that the white or light beige is doing a good job under my eye. Now next, that same brown color, I'm going to do kind of an L shape right here and on the other side. And all I'm going to do is start to connect the two and then just lighten up the look of that tint. So I go to the hairline first and then bring it down. So toward the hairline first and bring it down. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing. Okay, it's a bit of a trade-off between showing you what I'm doing and being able to do what it is I say I'm doing, right? Okay, so that looks all right. Get a little something in my hair. Okay, so we've got the brows done, we've got the kind of bronzer done. Now I want to go in this one and do a little bit of blushing effect. So I'm going to do that now. There's not really anything on my fingers, so I'm going to go middle finger and ring finger again. And I've got a fluff on one of my fingers. And I'm not using a whole lot, and I'm going to start trying to do a little bit of a blushing effect here. There we go. Now I feel like the camera is washing me out a little bit. It looks peachier in person than I can see in the viewfinder, but the viewfinder sometimes lies. So hopefully it's giving the effect that I'm hoping it's giving you as far as what I'm doing. So sometimes I tap before I start to swirl my fingers around. Okay, so it's giving me some color, and I want to go a little bit more and other side. Okay, so I've got some color on the forehead, some color right here, hollows of the cheeks. I'm happy, except around my nose is not super, but like I said, I want to just use this palette. Next, I'm going to go into this cream highlight, again using the same fingers because most of the cream product that is on my fingers has just worn off through application on my face. And I really do like cream highlight. I think it looks really good. So I'm going to go right on the cheekbone, up to here and back. So not too far forward on the face. And I'm definitely going to add some more because it's not showing a whole lot. I've turned into quite the highlight queen, so I'm adding probably more than I ever used to. And there is a highlight powder on the other side, I believe. So if I remember right, it's been a while since I've used that one. Yes, there is. So we'll add some of that powder highlight as well when we get to the other side, the powder side. This is a very, very subtle cream highlighter, which is, it's nice. If you like subtle, then this is just going to give you a little bit of that healthy glow, and that's it. Nothing too crazy. And I'm going to add a little bit of that cream highlight right on the bridge of my nose. Not that I need to make my nose more prominent, but you know, we can, therefore we do. And I'm going to wipe my hands off now because I think that I'm pretty much done with the cream side of it. And we're going to go into the powder side and take care of cheeks and eyes and everything else with that powder side. Now I'm going to use two brushes primarily for today. A blush brush for most of the powder, and then also a highlighter brush and a powder brush. And I think I'm going to go, I don't think I need to do a whole lot. Oh, and of course some eyeshadow brushes, but that goes without saying because we're doing the eyes as well. I am going to first off go into the contour. So I'm going to go into this powder right here and just accentuate a little bit what I did with the powder. So I'm going to go again in that specific spot, very, very lightly. And accentuate that hollow of the cheek again. And then same thing, same powder. I just need to hold my hair back a little bit. I'm going to go dab here and dab there and just get a little bit more of that contour effect on the forehead. Now, depending on how fair you are, you may want to do more or less of that. I find that just because I am in front of the lights, that I can get away with more of that kind of a contour than if I'm not in front of the camera. And I'm going to go in with this, just a powder brush, and just soften up the edges here so that it's not too much color. Okay, and I think that these guys on the side look all right. And now I'm going to use that same blush brush and bring in more of that warmer tone as bronzer up higher. So I just dabbed a tiny bit. I'm going to tap it off, and I'm going higher up on the cheekbone and just tapping it in. I much prefer, if I'm doing something that's blush-like, I'm much happier tapping than sweeping. Tapped again, tapped off the excess, that is, and I'm going back and forth where I would normally put blush. Now, because it's more of a skin tone color, I'm not too worried about going a little bit closer forward, but if you don't want as much coming forward, you can just quickly brush off anything that you feel is a bit extra. Now, for the under eye, because we do want to do a little bit of something, I'm going to go in with that powder brush and go into this very, very light color, cream color, and just a tiny, tiny bit of powder, and I'm just going to tap it in. And you saw that I distributed the powder under both eyes because you barely need anything under the eyes. It's just to make sure that it's not going to crease on you. Now, I think that we have the face pretty much done. Again, the only thing I would want to fix is the concealer around my nose. I know I'm repeating it, it's like the third time, but I want to acknowledge that it didn't do as good a job as it could do. And I'm probably at the very end going to correct that just so that you can see the difference. I hope I don't forget. Now, we are doing the eyes. I want to go in with this color first as a way to set the cream to powder that's on my eyes right now. And I'm going to use a big fluffy brush that I usually use for that purpose. So I'm going into the very, very light color. I'm just going to go back and forth and work in that powder into the cream that I did put on the eyes. Now, normally I would have done the eyes last, but I wanted to go one color at a time with you so that I wasn't going back and forth and causing any kind of confusion. So I changed my steps just a little bit, just for what made sense for this video. Now I've got the other eye going. And I do circular motions so that any kind of cream that did sort of set without the powder can just get worked in with the powder as if I had just applied it. Okay, so I think that that looks pretty good. And now I'm going to go in with powder on the eye to give the eye some dimension. So I'm going to go first off as the first crease color. I'm going to go in with this contour shade. And I'm going to use the same crease brush as I used before because I want a very, very light powdering all over. So I'm going right in the crease. Not too high because I do want to do a brow bone highlight, but I'm just establishing a color in the crease. And for my eye shape, I do like to go right into the center here, and that does not suit every eye shape. I'm not recommending that for everyone. Now I'm picking up the kick up and I'm going on the other side and doing the same. And the style of brush that you use is going to have a vastly different effect on the eye, because some of them are supposed to be fluffy like this one to apply some amount of powder evenly, and some other ones are meant to really pack on the color. So obviously packing on the color is not what I'm doing right now. I'm just setting the base crease shade, mostly in the crease and a little bit on the outer lid. Now I want to go in with that warmer color here, and I'm going to use two brushes. I'm going to use a smaller crease brush to go in there, and then on the outer lid, and probably on the lower lash line, and then I'll want to deepen up again if I can with this color. But why don't we go and do the highlight on the brow bone right now? So I'm going to use this highlighter powder. Two places actually. I'll do the brow bone, but while I'm on the highlighter, which I'm using a new brush, a little bit of a fluffy brush, but that's still relatively dense, just on the brow bone here. And I think you'll see that it has a nice amount of shine. And on the other side. Okay, I think that looks all right. And I might put some on the very inner lid later. And I do want to, before I forget, I'm going to use my very fluffy featherweight brush to take some of that highlighter and put it on my cheekbone. Look at that shine, right? It's a beautiful highlighter. Okay, I think that that is a nice amount of shine. I'm pretty happy about that. Maybe a little bit on my nose again. Okay. Now I talked about a smaller crease brush. This is the one I'm going to use. It was from a set of 5 brushes from Sephora. I'm going into this more of a terracotta color, tapping off the excess, and I'm going into the crease. Now I talked about different brushes doing different things. So now I have a smaller crease brush, so I can intensify the color in the crease here. And then I'm going to bring in another brush for another trick up our sleeve. I'm going up higher toward the brow bone, but I'm not sweeping as hard as I was, not that I'm sweeping hard, but not as much pressure as I'm getting closer to the brow bone. And I do want to use a different brush to bring that brown a little bit further down. I'm going to just tap in a little bit more and bring that brown down right here. Okay, and I want to use an angled brush, and I'm going to take that brown and bring it down here. You know, when you try to find a brush and it's right in front of you, that's the angled brush I'm going to use. I'm going to use the powder just on the one side, just like that, and I'm going to bring it down right along the outer lower lid. There we go. Okay, so that is what I was trying to do. Just intensifying that just a little bit. And I think that that looks pretty good. So I've got that. And going back to my original brush and just going to make sure that it's not too harsh of a line. Okay, I want to take a denser brush and go back into this brown and go a little bit deeper on the very outer lid here. Okay, packing it onto the brush, and I'm just going to go pack it on the lid and into the crease. There we go. Now what I want to do is I want to repeat the same thing on the other eye. Let's do that right now. I'll do that off camera and just come back with both eyes done. And then we can finish up the look with other things apart from what it is that we used in this palette. And the only thing I'm going to do really, oh, actually, no, pardon me. There's one more thing that we have not done that I said we would do, and that is put the highlighter on the inner to kind of a third or half of the lid. And then later on, once I've got both eyes done, we can get into the kind of the finishing touches that are outside of this palette to just finish up the look. I almost forgot to show you the highlighter. So I'm using my favorite brush, which is the Multitasker brush from Smashbox, which is, by what I understand, discontinued. I'm so sad. My favorite brush. So I went into the highlighter, the powder highlighter, and you could definitely use the cream highlighter if you wanted for this particular step. Going in with my ring finger now that I've got the very, very corner done with more precision. Just dipping back into the powder highlighter over and over. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to repeat exactly what I did here on the other side, and then we can finish it up. Okay, I am back with both eyes done, and I think that you can tell that I've added quite a bit of dimension by using those 4 shades. Actually, I used 3. I didn't really use the very, very light matte powder, but I used the other 3 to create the look. And actually, I think I used the matte powder to set, right, the cream that I had on my eyes. And I want to do something fun, at least fun for me because it's a challenge. I want to go back into this brown cream, and I want to attempt, we'll see how it goes, but I want to attempt to put it as a liner on my upper and lower lashes. Why not? Why not try something? It's nice to experiment. Now, where did I put that one brush? Got it. Okay, so I'm going to go back into that brush that I used for my brows. I'm going into that deep brown, and I'm going to attempt to do a liner. And if it doesn't work, that's fine. I will go to my usual liquid liner, and no, as Teresa is Dead would say, no harm, no foul. But I'm going to try anyway to go along the lash line and see if I can give it enough definition to just get away with using that brown. I don't think it's going to work, but you know, you don't try, you don't get. Okay, well, it was worth a shot, but did it do a little bit more around the eyes? Sure. Is it enough? Absolutely not. So I'm going to move on now, and of course I don't even know if it's eye safe, so don't do what I just did. Let's go into some liner and some mascara, which of course neither one are in this palette. So I'm going to go in with this tattoo liner, which is getting pretty dry, but I should be able to finish up doing the liner on the upper lash line. I need a mirror. The mirror under the camera is just too darn far. So I'm going to go back into this palette, which I have no idea why I close it off because I know there's a mirror in it. There are 2 of them even. And I thought I was going to do something else with the eye, but I actually think the highlighter did a pretty good job of helping to define the eye by showing a nice light inner lid. Oh god, this is getting really dry. Can't even do a wing anymore. Wow, that is dry. I can't see what I'm doing. That is so dry. Okay, this liner is done. Wow, that is rough. It's been on its last legs for the last couple weeks, and I just keep pushing the envelope. And yeah, I knew it was going to come and bite me at some point. I like this tattoo liner from KVD Vegan Beauty enough that I have a backup. And same thing for the Stila Stay All Day and the Fenty Fly Liner. But if I had to pick one out of the three, I would pick the Fenty Fly Liner as my absolute favorite. Ergonomically, it is the best for a few different reasons. You can put the cap on the end of the pen, on the end of the liner, as in like this. And there are very few liquid liners where I have seen that be the case. Actually, I can't think of another one other than the Fenty liner that has that characteristic. If you know of other liners that do that, I would love to hear. I just think it's neat. And I went way too low. That's what I get for lining and talking at the same time. Okay, well they're going to be cousins today, not sisters. Okay, I want to put some mascara on, and since we have somewhat of a kind of tamed down look, I think I want to do two things. I'm going to use the Freak mascara, and I'm also going to use the Zero liner on the upper waterline to just add to the impact of the upper lid. Okay, I had to reach back to reach the Zero liner. Now, if you're squeamish, look away. I'm putting the black liner on the upper waterline. Okay, I think that looks pretty good. And now for some mascara on the upper lash line. Now this mascara is quite funny. It puts on way too much at the beginning, but then you're able to comb it out. And I can often get away with just one coat with this one. So if you're someone who hates spending a whole lot of time putting mascara on, this one can do the trick. That's a little bit much here. All right. And it doesn't do spider lashes, but it does put quite a bit on. Now, what is going on? There we go. Huh, gonna have to do some cleanup on my lid there. Ah, look at that. Huh, what a mess. All right, so that is good enough. Got a little bit of a mess there. I've not had a mess like that with the Freak mascara before. Okay, hang on. Okay, that is the first time I am not happy with the Freak mascara. It's a little clumpy on this side, and that has not happened to me before. Now I'm just letting this mess, do you see how much I messed up? I'm letting this mess dry up and it will flake off, no problem. I don't think that I'm going to do anything really with my lips. I think I'm just going to put some lip gloss on. Based on my eye color, I think I'm just going to use this chestnut cream from Sephora. Sephora glosses are really pretty awesome. I had a pretty frosty lip gloss earlier. I think this is better. It's kind of like a bronzy peach, and I like it. Okay, so let's see. I think that there's enough time that's gone by so that I can flick this off. And a little Q-tip. There you go, that flakes off. reasonably well. I'm really not rubbing the eye hard at all. I'm just very, very lightly rubbing. Okay. And I don't feel like I've got really a spot that has no eyeshadow, but I'm still going to go in with that crease brush that still has a tiny bit of product on it and just make sure that it's all smoothed out. Okay, so I think that it would be nice if I did a lower lash line liner, and it would be nice to put a little bit of some sort of a color because everything else is pretty neutral. And had I not gone with the highlighter on the inner to about halfway, that is where I would have done a pop of color. And I actually had a pigment out from Inglot to put on the inner to 2/3 of the lid, but I think that the highlighter did a really good job. But a little bit of color on the lower lash line will look really nice. So let me pick something and I'll be right back. Okay, I never usually, never, I've done blue liner on the lower lashes before, but it's rare. So let's do this. This is LSD from Urban Decay, and it's kind of a metallic. Just give you a swatch here. It's very, very blue. So let's do that with the palette here and see what it looks like. So here I went from going for green on the inner 2/3 of the lid to just highlighter and now a blue liner on the lower lash line. Things change. And it's a glittery liner at that. Okay, I'm going to do a little bit of cleanup on the lower lash line. I'm going to put some setting spray, and then we can talk final thoughts on using this palette for a full face of makeup. All right, well, I am pretty happy. I just finished up the look using the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. It's really hard for the camera to catch it because of the white packaging. Normally it's black with white lettering. And let's just go over the things that are not the primary use palette here. I used a couple of liners, just pencil liners. I used the Tattoo liner from KVD Vegan Beauty, the Lash Freak, and the Sephora Gloss, plus one other thing off camera, which is the Anastasia Clear Brow Gel, just to set the brows with the cream product in them. And I mean, it's just a brow gel. I didn't think it was going to be a big deal to do that without you. So the only step in everything I did today that did not work was the deep brown, or the deep, kind of a rusty brown on the lower and upper lash line. It did not work, but it was a stretch. And who would ever say that it's not a complete look if you didn't use a cream product? We used a liner and it was fine. Now, I mentioned that the one thing that was not quite right in the palette was a concealer. So I'm going to go in here and grab the Boing number 2 from Benefit and just go around my nose just a tiny bit so you can see the difference. But I do have to say that I do wonder, and I do want to use this palette again by putting in a pore minimizing primer, applying that before I use the creams in the Naked Skin, because I think it would address that problem that I'm having here. But I know that the Boing number 2 is going to take care of it right now. And because I can't undo what's already on my face, to go and put the pore minimizing primer on, that I would use the Smashbox one, but any of them would work, I'm sure, for the most part for folks. And that's it. It's just doing a better job than the Naked Skin. But again, I think that I'll have to do a little proof of concept here. I'm quite sure with a pore minimizing primer, I would not have had this issue. Okay, so that's it. That's all I had to do. And I'm pretty happy with that. So bottom line is, this is really versatile. I don't think anyone would argue that this is not a complete makeup look. I mean, does it have 50 different steps? No, but it does make use of, I believe, 8 of the 9 products that are in here, which is pretty good. And I think we've got the cheeks, we've got the forehead, so the contour, the blush, the highlight, the eyes. I think everything is pretty much done. And of course, the palette doesn't come with setting spray. But I'm pretty happy with this. I have another video to film right after, and I have no problem going on camera with this look that I consider a final look and a complete look. Let me know what you think in the comments. I would really appreciate hearing from you. And it was a request, so I have delivered. And if you have other requests, things that you're wondering about, questions regarding makeup application, I am not a makeup artist. I do not profess to be, but I do tinker, and I might have some answers if you are curious about something. With that, I will say thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it every single time, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. But for now, take care.